Good evening, everybody. This is Kerrville United, and I'm Aaron Yates. We're here on April the 16th, which means we're just 1 week away from the start of voting in the City Council election of 2018. On April 23rd is when early voting starts. That's a week from today if you're watching this on Monday the 16th. But Monday, April 23rd, early voting runs through May 1st, and then the main election day is Saturday, May the 5th. All that voting takes place at the Callow Theater in Kerrville. We'll have on our website the times of day that you can go, but everybody goes and votes in the lobby there at the Callow Theater. We really are trying to push this year to increase the voter turnout. We have registered voters under the age of 50, only about a 5% turnout. So that's really poor turnout for citywide elections. We know this election is sandwiched between two other big elections this year and then another one in November, so it's hard to keep up. But we're trying to push these videos out, and if you'll share them with your friends so that they know that May 5th we do have another very important election coming up. We've invited candidates to come and chat with us here on Kerrville United to talk about their campaigns and their stance on certain issues that are affecting Kerrville. Last week we brought you an interview with Judy Eichner, who's running for place 3. And tonight I have with me Reverend Bill Blackburn, who's running for mayor. Yeah. Thanks for being with us, Bill.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Very good. How's the campaign going?
You know, it's been pretty strenuous, but it seems to be going well. For one thing, we cannot keep our signs in stock, our yard signs. We are continuing to get more and more and more requests for them, and I think we've reordered three times. I don't know if we're going to have to reorder another time, but we will.
That's a good sign, pun intended, I guess.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
right. But you know what? People remind me, signs don't vote.
That's true.
You got to make sure that the folks get out and actually vote.
That's right. And whoever you're voting for, just make sure that you do get involved and vote.
Right.
So a few questions, things that come up during the campaign. I'm going to start with a few of the most popular questions that I hear all the time. Number one, your political ideology. Is it important to the campaign? Is it important to what your service will be like as mayor? And should it be important to the voters?
Well, when you talk about ideology, you're talking your basic ideas behind governance. And I would say to you that as I look at the opportunity to govern in the sense of being mayor, that is an opportunity of service. It is an opportunity of service to all the constituents. And I think one of the things that for me, both as a minister, but for other reasons, stewardship is a huge word in my ideology. That is, you are a steward of the responsibility you have been elected to, and you're a steward of those funds that you use to serve the needs of the city. And so it is, yes, ideology does matter. Because for one thing, I see local government as an array of services. And as you look at that, then your customers are your citizens. How well are we serving the citizens of Kerrville in all areas? Water, wastewater, streets, law enforcement, library, everything else.
So for any of the city elections, should it matter to the voters who's Republican, who's Democrat, who's conservative, who's liberal? You
know, the interesting thing, that's come up a lot. The interesting thing is that it is a nonpartisan election. The city decided a long time ago, and maybe it's because it's a home rule city, that you don't run it as a party or from a party. So you run as a nonpartisan. And boy, I've seen in this election a lot of well, kind of crossing lines of folks saying, hey, you know, I support this person because of this person because of this, and that happens. But basically, it's just a nonpartisan election.
Right. Like I've told people before that potholes don't have a party, right?
No,
so, yeah,
no,
police officers getting paid is not Republican or Democrat. So let's get on to a few of the rumors that have come out. Every campaign has rumors and accusations on both sides, different things that go on. There's a few, I've got a few here that I'll let you respond to one at a time. Tell us whether they're true or false. The first rumor is, if elected mayor, you'll institute a policy of gun control and confiscate some of the guns used in the Kerrville Police Department.
I don't know where that came from. I'm a gun owner. That is just, you know, but the idea was that I've already written an ordinance that if elected mayor, I'm going to introduce to the city council, and they're going to pass it, and then I'm going to have the police Kerrville police go confiscate all the guns of all the Kerrville citizens. That is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life. But I had a couple of people come up to me and say, Bill, are you going to take our guns? No, but anyway.
Yeah, and me too, as a gun owner and a Second Amendment supporter, you couldn't do that if you wanted to.
No way. It's unconstitutional.
Right.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I don't think the police would go along with it either.
No, I don't think so either.
Another one that has come up, if elected mayor, you will use city funds to start an abortion clinic.
You know, again, where in the world do people get this stuff? I am not pro-abortion. I have counseled women not to have an abortion, recognizing it is their choice, but I've counseled that. And so this notion about I'm going to get elected mayor and then there's going to be this abortion clinic giving free abortions, it's just ridiculous.
The last one that I've heard, and one of the candidates alluded to this in the forum that we had the other night at the Chamber Forum. Partners in Ministry was a ministry that you founded, a nonprofit organization. They ended up closing the doors at some point because of some financial difficulties. They're putting the blame on you, saying that your management caused them to have financial insolvency and close the doors.
I was there for 12 years, from the founding to 2011. When I retired from that position, we were having as many as 600 people at the luncheons that we were doing. At one time, we had as many as 800 people on a single day out doing community service. The ministry was thriving. It was in good shape. Over the next couple of years, it got in bad shape after I was gone. And they asked me to come back and get it going again. We raised a bunch of money, got going, but there was so much momentum that was lost that it couldn't be sustained. So, and it was very sad to me because I mean it was a dream for me.
So
the other thing that was that because of financial mismanagement I'd been fired. Not true. And when that got out, staff members and board members said, Bill, we'll say whatever, you know, we'll get in the paper, whatever. And I said, it's another rumor, you know, let it go.
Yeah. So they kind of brought you out of retirement to try
to bring it back. And we did to a degree. Yeah, right.
Understood.
Let me say one more thing.
Yes, please.
Partners in Ministry was designed to do collaborations of churches across the board. We had law enforcement that were involved at times. We had schools, city, county, to address the needs of children in the county, youth, and those in poverty. And I remember some great events and great times of getting that done, and it was exciting.
I remember working with them too, with Partners in Ministry on different projects and community service, community-wide service day. You guys would help. CSI Day. Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of the last forum, so the Chamber of Commerce hosted a forum last week at Schreiner University. I think during her closing statement, your opponent said in that forum that basically community service doesn't prepare someone to be the mayor, doesn't prepare someone to serve on council.
Yeah.
What is your response to that?
Well, what I would say is you're looking not only at the community service, which I've done a lot in my 34 years here, you look not only at the community service, but what are the skills involved? How do you work across the board, lots of different people to get a project done? How do you help start some things? Before Partners in Ministry, I was involved in starting Habitat for Humanity, which became the #2 chapter in the country in per capita houses, Habitat houses. Christian Women's Job Corps, Partners in Ministry helped get that going, and it's one of the most successful job corps in the country. And I could point to a number of other things. So what you're looking at there is the skills to bring people together around a need and around a project, and to do it in a way in which it really is successful. And that's the kind of thing I've taught in consulting with nonprofit organizations, including Schreiner University, Families and Literacy, Hill Country Crisis Council, Doyle School Community Center, and then with a ministry in London and organizations in Cameroon, Africa. Teaching, you know, how do you put that organization together? How do you make it effective? How do you emphasize results and key result areas? So what I would say is, when you look at the task of the mayor and the responsibility of the mayor, there is so much there that is a matter of recognizing what needs to be done, bring people together to make it happen, and then doing it in a way that's sustainable. But, and this gets to something I think we're going to talk about later, but I'm going to go ahead now. The city manager is the CEO. He is, and it is, we have a city manager form of government. So when I'm talking about projects and sustainability and everything else, it would be a matter of the council doing its work. But then the day-to-day operation is by the city manager. And the responsibility for that. Now, if that didn't go well, then we have some oversight responsibility to deal with that with the city manager. So the but how would you look at project management and some of the other things I've talked about if you're just setting policy and priorities and oversight? I would say that you're also working not in a interference kind of way with the work of the city manager, but you're working with the city manager to help those things happen. One of the roles of a mayor is a cheerleader. You know, saying to the people, let's, you know, we need to take care of this, we need to go, we need to get this done. And so that's a long way around, but I hope it gets at some of that.
Yeah, so definitely some of the skills do translate to
they
becoming
do.
a mayor. Yeah.
Because see, the kind of things that I'm talking about, I've studied organizational development over the years. I mean, for a long time, because I had big projects. Like when I was 30 years of age, I was hired to help the 5,000 plus Texas Baptist churches develop ministries with families. Well, you can't do that without some organizational abilities. And so, yeah, in fact, the city has called me in before I declared for mayor, even thought about running for mayor. They've called me in to help a committee that was stuck, and they needed a way to set priorities and focus on the key things. So, you know, I did that, helped them out. They got going.
Speaking of some committees and different things that the city interfaces with, this council has kind of toyed with the idea of terminating the KEDC, which is the Kerr Economic Development Corporation, which is the independent entity that kind of helps facilitate economic development in the city. They toyed with the idea of doing away with that organization, bringing it in-house in the city. That may have led to the executive director, Brian O'Connor, resigning. What is your reaction to that? How should the council interface with KEDC, or what should become of KEDC now?
Well, I was on KDF when it was a foundation a long time ago, and it really wasn't very effective at that time. We were trying to attract businesses here, and all the other cities we were competing with were doing the same, and they were often giving away, you know, tax abatements and everything else. I do believe in incentives that you can bring a business in. But anyway, then it moved to a director who is a specialist in economic development. Back then, it was a combination of the chamber director handled both the chamber and the economic development organization. Once we got an individual who was skilled in economic development, and I've known all of them that have had it since it became a corporation, we've had some very good people here who've done some very good work. But I know of two of the directors who left because of this uncertainty of what was going to happen, what the council was going to do. Because when the council or a council member says, we're going to do away with KDF, they are already negotiating and working with businesses to potentially bring them here or help a local business to expand. Well, that creates all kind of uncertainty. I know that you can have an economic development corporation within a city, but what we have here, where you have the economic development corporation that is funded mainly by the city, but also by county and KPUB, I think that partnership works well, and I would like to see that continued. I know there's some talk of some combination of chamber and KDC, and that may work, but we need to have a strong economic development organization.
And is it important to keep it independent of the city, or can it come in-house under the city?
Well, one of the problems you run into if you bring it in the city is you don't have the privacy that you do where it is now. If you come into the city and everybody can file a Freedom of Information request and look at what this business is doing, what they're proposing, what their plans are, then that leaves you as a business person looking to start a business or expand one feeling pretty exposed, including to your competitors. I think it's better to have it independent, definitely.
Very good. And along the same lines with economic development, the EIC, of course, Economic Improvement Corporation, which is underneath the city and spends 4B sales tax money, there's been some conflict with the city council and the EIC over the last year, culminating in the termination of one of the EIC members, Mr. James Wilson, that this council voted to remove from office after he made some challenging statements. Is that the right way to handle disagreements with these boards that serve under the city? Is that healthy for the community and for the business environment?
I really don't think so. And I'm a friend of Jim Wilson's, and I watched that with a degree of amazement and horror, because it will say to other people, I can't disagree with the mayor and some of the people on council, or I'll get, thrown off, or my term, or I will not be given another term, that kind of thing. And so it's pretty chilling. And I think you don't want to volunteer to try to be of service to the city and to be treated that way. So I think it is a real problem. And I think the other thing we've got to be careful about is that people are appointed to EIC and P&Z, Planning and Zoning, and other boards and committees who actually believe in the mission of that organization. And
many of them are very talented. They've come from another corporate background or some other activist background, and they know what to do on these committees.
Well, Jim Wilson is an accountant. He offices in San Antonio but lives here and would be, was here for the meetings and everything else. He's got a clientele across the country. So he's very knowledgeable and experienced.
So what would be a proper way to handle, if there is a conflict between the EIC and the city council, how would you as mayor handle something like that?
I think again, there the question is, you got to be guided by the city manager, and I think come alongside the city manager and look at that, see how we deal with it, lay all the facts out, and try to resolve it without this kind of thing, or without the continuing fighting and disagreement. I've had business people here tell me, Bill, get in there as mayor and do the job and help things to settle down, because this chronic conflict is causing problems. Because businesses really don't want that uncertainty.
Right.
And so if you're looking, if the council's looking to get rid of the KDC, and then there's trouble on EIC, it's like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Right. If I'm a business with a lot of money to invest, seeing that kind of thing happen is not healthy. It
isn't healthy.
Yeah.
No, and it isn't healthy for prospects that are looking to invest and come into the community.
You alluded to this earlier, but talking about kind of the role of the city council and the mayor and how they interface with city staff, there's been some criticism of micromanagement and different types of challenges and conflicts and things like that between this council and the city staff. What is the role of the council, and how is the proper way for the council to interact with staff?
Well, I think it is a matter of, again, the council sets policies, priorities, oversight, but once you have decided on something, once you've voted on something, that goes to the city manager to be implemented. And as mentioned a while ago, if it doesn't, or if there's problems, then the council would work with the city manager about that. But I would say that in a positive spirit and in a good spirit, if the city manager says, would you as a council member work with the development services on this project, or would you help in this way, or whatever, then we ought to be willing to do that. But still, we're not going with authority. We are with influence. but it's not with authority. And one of the problems we've had is interference with the departments. And I've just got to say it. The mayor's husband has been a real problem in interfering and even threatening. And there are emails circulating that somebody got a hold of his emails to the city manager and to others. That isn't good. It just isn't. And I will guarantee you, my spouse is not going to be going around City Hall telling the departments what to do.
I've seen the emails too. They've circulated through us, and there are some pretty troubling things in some of those.
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, but still along the lines of economic development, we've had a few projects that have come to pass in the city over the last few years using city money and 4B sales tax money. Some of the biggest ones, the river trail, the sports complex, the water reuse pond, and the effluent lines that transport that reuse water. The current mayor has voted against all of those projects, and when asked about it, she says she's not against the projects, but she's against the funding mechanisms. Is that valid? Were those projects funded correctly? And what is your view on the need for those projects in Kerrville?
Okay. Were they correct? Were they correctly funded? My reading on that is yes. I mean, it has not increased our debt, hadn't increased our property taxes with the city money, the 4B sales tax money, and then with some private money, foundation money. We're looking real good in regard to those. And so I don't know. I know that the mayor says it was just the funding mechanisms, but when you look at how many times she voted against those projects, you've got to wonder. But see, in the same way, when it looked like she was trying to get rid of the city attorney, Mike Hayes, she said, "Oh no, I wasn't trying to get rid of him. It was just his contract that I was concerned about." But that was done in such a way that you really wonder. You know?
Well, and even after the contract was renegotiated, it was a 4-to-1 vote. She still voted against the new contract for Mike Hayes.
Right,
so,
right, yeah.
Same thing with, you know, she's voted several times against many of these projects too. I guess, you know, your view is more on the projects themselves though. Things like quality of life projects like the sports complex and the river trail, you know, they do add to our debt, but they don't add to our tax rate or our tax payments. But are those kind of things good for the community? Oh,
okay, let me say, in regard to the river trail, 10 years ago, I was on County Judge Pat Tinley's committee, a service resource person to them, on a committee on strategy plan for economic development for the city and the county. Second meeting, we're in the upstairs there in the courthouse, and the consultants come in that are working with us, and they said, we got in here early and to drive around, and they said, I've got a question for you. Why are you not doing more of the river? Do you not understand the economic development potential of the river? And they were saying, you're missing a bet. Well, so then we have a person who is head of Parks and Recreation who had helped develop the extension of the San Antonio Riverwalk. And
Malcolm Matthews, right?
Malcolm Matthews, and a waterfront park in Corpus. Very experienced. He knew what he was doing. So you've got the opportunity, you've got the person, and I would say that it's a wonderful quality of life project, but it also has economic development potential. Now the sports complex, I had a person involved in that explain to me, Bill, let me show you what the potential is here. They've already got 25 tournaments lined up out there. If you look at these folks coming from out of town, they stay 1 or 2 nights in local hotels. For every player, you got 2 to 3 adults that are coming with them. They spend money. They're in the restaurants. They're at the motel hotels, and that is going to be very good for us. Now the other thing is, our debt is manageable. It really is. And in fact, in the next 4 or 5 years, our debt is going to go like this. But if you look at the interest rate on that debt, it's good. And like the K-Pub loan to the city, that's, you know, no origination fee, simple interest. Right now, we've got an $8.5 to $10 million project to do the lift station out at the Legion lift station. It's going to be required given the number of people moving in that area and so forth. Well, the Texas Water Development Board has issued, they're going to do the loan. It's like 1.75%. Again, no origination fee, simple interest.
It's very low interest.
It is really, it is very good. And that debt is kind of like a mortgage in your home. If you said, well, I'm going to save up till I can buy my house, you save, save, save. You never get there and the prices go up and then you discover you can't do it. You'd be better off to have taken a mortgage at a good interest rate. And so I think we're in good shape. Also, under Todd Parton, last city manager, he got the city council to go to a 25% of the budget in reserves.
Kind of like a rainy day fund reserve requirement.
We've got 90 days of operating funds there. And so that is significantly above what the state recommends.
So you'd say we're in pretty good financial shape overall as a city?
Yes.
If you were elected mayor, what would be your first priority?
First priority has to be water. With the growth which we're going to have here, we have got to be careful about our water resources and protecting them. You know, our three sources are, we can take some out of Guadalupe River. Some people think we can take as much as we want, but that's not the case.
Right, not the case.
Second, you've got the native groundwater. And then we have 2 ASR wells where you can store treated water at a constant temperature. And we may have to look at an additional ASR well. But the second thing would be the protection of our natural beauty. Again, with growth, how do you protect the natural beauty? How do you protect green spaces? How do you include green spaces in your planning? Very important to me is the business community. Like I say, I've been involved in trying to attract businesses here. And then you see the Economic Development Corporation looking at how can we help existing businesses like Avery and Mooney, and then bring in Fox Tank. But now there really is a move and a heart for existing small businesses that are here. How do we help them? And then something that I proposed even before I was running for mayor is a business incubator to help local people get started in businesses. So those are some of my particular concerns and interests.
Very good. So tell us a little bit, how can voters find out more about your candidacy, and any other final messages do you have for our viewers tonight?
Okay, one final message that I want to come back to, and that's in regard to debt. There are some who have painted me as a free spender. I don't know where they get that. Since 1973, the organizations that I have led, we've never done deficit spending. And Dean and I don't do that as well. I mean, we've been out of debt for a long time. I drive an 8-year-old pickup, and the only new car I've ever owned in my life is a Volkswagen Beetle. You know, so we're pretty thrifty, and I certainly would be in this position. People can look at the website, BillBlackburnForKerrville.com. They can look at Bill Blackburn for Mayor on Facebook. Those are 2 real good ways. I would encourage people to go and look at the other videos on Kerrville United, because you've done some very good videos there, and good presentations, and for instance on the finances of the city and all. The main thing I would say to you is, I've been here 34 years, Dean and I have. We've raised our kids here. We are your neighbors. Both of us have really tried to serve this community because we love this community. The other reason that I am running is that I very strongly believe we need a leadership change at the City Council. And I would love to be your mayor. And I ask for your vote. April 23rd starts early voting through May 1, and then May 5 is the election itself. Thank you very much.
And as Bill said it all there, I was going to remind everybody, April 23rd, that's a week from today for early voting. Callow Theater, I believe it starts at 7 in the morning on those days and runs till 7 p.m. for most of the early voting days, but we'll post that up on our website and Facebook page to be sure we have the details right for you. Again, turnout is pitifully low in Kerrville historically, so the more we can do to help increase the turnout, no matter who you're voting for, as long as you're engaged and informed and get out and cast your vote, that'll be helpful to increase the voter turnout. Again, I'm Aaron Yates for Kerrville United. Thanks to my guest tonight, Bill Blackburn, and hopefully we'll see you at the polls next week. Thanks for watching.
Good, thank you.